Hello, I'm Beata Matras, and this is the first episode of my podcast, Doing It My Way. I mean, technically, it's not the first episode, as I've already recorded a podcast in Polish, but this is a kind of new project which I want to continue for God knows how long. And it's called Doing It My Way by Beata Matras. And in this podcast, I will cover various topics such as project management, product management, communication, branding, and IT. Why these five? Well, these five subjects are personally interesting to me and have a direct or indirect influence on my professional career. And I believe they do for you as well. So expect a mix of solo episodes because I enjoy talking to myself and engaging conversations with guests because I also love connecting with people. That's who I am, and that's how this podcast is going to look like. So, how often? Well, for at least first 3 months, I'm going to do it weekly and see how it will affect my day-to-day life. Because I cannot lie to myself, it probably will impact my day-to-day life. So I need to be clear and honest with you and with myself that I'm going to try to do it for the first 3 months on a weekly basis. And then I will see if it will make, for example, more sense to do it every 2 weeks. But we'll see. Let's not go too far into the future. So here's the funny story behind why I decided to start this podcast. So it's not only about my dreams, it's a commitment to a friend, to one friend who I'm trying to encourage him to pursue his dreams. And because of that, I definitely need to do the podcast for the next 6 months, as I made a bet with him. And again, it's not only about my dreams and goals, but also about giving him the courage to go out and pursue his own dreams. And at the very last, he should, give it a try. So to achieve that, I need to be consistent and make sure I can deliver on my promise. That's how I end up here. And that's the end of the funny part. But what's actually the reality? Because I want to be honest with you, I decided to do this English version of the podcast a little bit before I made a bet. So I thought about the mission, like really deeply. I thought about the mission. And the mission consists of 2 parts. So my why is, firstly, because this podcast is going to serve as a creative outlet for my old thinking mind. I love writing, I love talking, I love presenting, and that's how I can do that. I mean, I'm doing that at work too, but not, speaking usually about the topics that are super interesting to me. So I'm going to have my space where I can share whatever I want, and hopefully it will be valuable to you, to the listeners. So the second reason, it's connected to the valuable part. So I hope that it will provide a kind of supportive space for professionals navigating through the complexities of project and product management and dispelling feelings of confusion and loneliness. Because at the end, I think project and product roles are quite lonely ones. So that's going to be a space where we can connect together. I hope we can have a dialogue. That's how I imagine that. And I hope it will become reality at some point. And usually in my podcast, I'm dividing this into like 2 parts. One is like personal, and then we move to the professional part. And now we can move on to the personal story. And it will start from the question, how in the hell did I end up here again? And I'm quoting Bridget Jones in case you're not familiar. So yes, it all started with a dream or intention, whatever we call that. A dream of my younger self 3 years ago, I made a decision to create a podcast on project management because I wanted to make a positive impact on the world and connect with people who feel the same. Maybe I was also trying to prove myself a little bit, showing the world that I can achieve it alone without any assistance. I can be there, I can make a podcast and, look perfectly and then go to the office 5 times a week and exercising. And yeah, it was my dream of conquering the world. However, after 4 months and 13 episodes, I gave up. And that's a very personal part. Why I gave up? I didn't tell this story. But I'm ready to share it. After 3 years of therapy, there is no topics for me that I cannot cover or cannot speak about because that's just who I am. And I also learned that oversharing is only when you feel that you said too much. And I tend to say just the amount of things I want, so I'm not oversharing. In case you feel like I'm oversharing, just, you can stop listening to that one. I will not make you, listen to me. But coming back to the story. So the very personal part. I forgot about myself. I wasn't strong enough to believe in myself and enjoy what I liked. Because I believed in the society that told me you're not enough, too inexperienced, not good enough. What's the value of it? What's the point of it? Why are you doing that? Why are you not going to the party with us? Why are you I don't know, trying yoga or hiking or whatever. And I love all these things. I really love resting and regenerating and relaxing. But if there is too much of it, you start to move into this hedonistic lifestyle, which at the end ends up with misery, at least to me, and a lack of sense. So I genuinely like doing things that make an impact. And I wouldn't call it work. It's just a way of relax for me to record this kind of stuff. Maybe I'll, in 5 years, I'll change my mind. But for now, it's a kind of my way of resting or realizing my dreams, I think. Yeah, that's the best word here. And friends are awesome and colleagues are awesome. But the main problem is that they don't know what's in your head and they are advising you because they are thinking what would be good for them. And that's worth realizing and remembering that first we need to trust ourselves because we are an experts on what's good for us. And if we don't feel good with something, then we'll potentially change it. Or not, if we don't want it. That's the end of the story. Okay, so is this time different? Well, I believe so. I'm not aiming anymore to conquer the world. I'm prepared for challenges. I understand that not everyone will fully support me, so I need to support myself first. I need to believe that what I'm doing is valuable, because if I don't, how can I expect others to believe in me? That's one or few of the lessons after years of therapy and watching Bridget Jones again. Should I say it's similar to love? I mean, I know it's a cliche to say, but if you don't love yourself, how can someone else love you? But from my experience, 100% true. I've been there, trust me. And at the end, you won't even notice that love that someone wants to give you. Just like Bridget, for example. She had to go on a journey to self-discovery and find her true passion and purpose in life. And then she eventually found love. So it wasn't Mark Darcy. It was with herself. Bridget needed to reconnect with her true self and embrace her imperfections. And at the end, she was happy. You remember this last scene from the movie when these two guys were like walking in front, and she was just walking with herself and her child. And I think that's the metaphor of her finally accepting herself. But it was all about her, let's say, and reconnecting with her true self, believing in herself, just finding home within herself. And how on earth does it connect with project and product management? Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, it all starts with intention. And in order to understand that intention, we actually need to learn the basics, the foundations. And that's where we are moving to more professional part or product related part. I'm going to cover the total basics today. Project and product definitions. I will also show you, or try to show you, similarities and synergy between them. Let's start from a product definition. A product refers to any item or service that we sell in order to provide value to the customer. This can include physical or digital products as well as services. And behind this value lies a need or want, essentially a problem that needs to be solved. So the product should serve as a solution to this problem. And now I'll introduce you to the product management definition by Marty Kagan, who is like Ed Sheeran of product management. So according to Marty, product management is discovering a product that is valuable, usable, and feasible. And if we delve deeper into that, product management can be defined as the intersection between business, technology, and user experience. And product management, above all these functions, is a business function focused on maximizing the business value from a product. So product managers should be, as we nicely say it, obsessed with optimizing a product to achieve the business goals and maximize the return on investment. And there is this technology part. So technology people determine whether it's feasible to build a product or a feature. It doesn't mean that a product manager needs to sit with them and code and, build the solution with them. But it's nice when he has or she has an understanding of the technology stack and the, kind of level of effort required to create something new, something that will serve others. And at the end, this kind of understanding of effort and technology should help us to make informed decisions. And the third part, there is like user experience. And they say that product managers are the voice of the customer, are the voice of the user within the business, and must be passionate about the user experience. But I had my doubts because also when I'm speaking to different people, marketing also seems to be heavily involved into being a voice of the customer, and obviously is. And also user experience designers, researchers, they are also very close to the users. And there is this third function, product managers, who should be all of these three, a little bit of technology, a little bit of user experience, a little bit of business. And I totally agree with that we should have like a basic knowledge on all these three. And what if, as product managers, we simply act as a bridge between these three dimensions, these three areas, business, technology, and user experience? I totally understand that we should have some basic knowledge in all these three, but it's not possible to be perfect in each alone. And I think it's worth understanding that, especially for aspiring or, product managers like me. So the ones who are, well, experienced, but they are still on the beginning of their way, I would say, to understand that we, to create products, actually need people around us, people who are more experienced, people who have more knowledge, people who are experts in those fields. And sometimes at the end, we'll be like Bridget Jones in the room. I mean, we would all like to be like Ed Sheeran of product management, but I think in the beginning, we just need to accept being a Bridget Jones in the meetings, asking sometimes stupid questions, sometimes very basic ones, and that's completely fine. We'll get there, I'm sure. So if you feel like being a Bridget Jones of the product management in your company, I guarantee it's completely normal. And we've all been there. I'm still sometimes there. And I'm trying to change that to be more like a Taylor Swift of product management. That's my goal. Okay, but let's move to another definition of the product manager role that is defined by output, outcome, and impact. I'm not sure who is the author of these three definitions and also like the overall product manager definition defined by output, outcome, impact. I just know who introduced it to me, and that was Tomasz Tomaszewski, and I'm not sure if that's his private theory or just a theory from some important book. But if this is his theory, I'm proud. I'm proud like for him to be my mentor, and yeah, I'm going to like let you know what Tomasz has taught me so far. So we have the three main definitions in product, which are output, outcome, and impact. So basically, what's the difference between those three? Well, first, output. This is the result of teams' hard work, a build solution, product, or function. The second definition is outcome. And this is defined as a change or effect that is directly related to the output we delivered, such as change in user behavior or user satisfaction. So if we deliver a feature, for example, for our stakeholders or for our users, because sometimes we deliver products for our internal clients, which are basically stakeholders. I know it's messed up. And then these people are using this feature or a product, and basically that affects their behavior. So yeah, we have a direct influence on the outcome by providing a valuable output. And then we have a third thing, which is impact, and it refers to a long-term effects of the output and achieved outcome. And these effects usually refer to the company or organization, such as changes in the revenue, return on investment, or those two, let's say here. It's important to note that we have a kind of indirect influence on the impact because, we definitely have a full control over the output. We have 50, 60, I don't know how much. Like there is a slight chance, a direct but slight chance that the output will make users behave differently. It also depends on which scale we are like operating. And with the impact on the company, well, it's more difficult to measure, especially when you're working in a corporate world where there is like 5,000 people working to achieve one goal and working with you on the product. Sometimes also like touching its different areas. So at the end, making or measuring the impact is a different story and a very difficult one. Summing up and moving it to simplified terms, the output refers to the solution or product that we build. The outcome is the influence it has on a user behavior, and the impact is long-term business effect resulting from the change in user behavior. And now we can move to the role of product manager. Ultimately, the role of product manager is to achieve maximum outcomes with minimal outputs. And if we are lucky enough or experienced enough, or I have no idea what, but we just do this maximum outcome and it will move to an impact on the organization. That's, I think, the heaven of product managers, yeah? The impact on the organization. Well, I miss this kind of, angelic music right now. And what's also interesting is that not all organizations will give us a chance to be responsible for the outcome or the impact. So what happens then? Can we still call ourselves product managers? And I'll leave it with that question for now, because that's not what I want to cover in this episode. Because now we transition to the project world. So a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So generally speaking, a business outcome. It has a defined start, an end, in time, as well as defined scope and resources. And if we know what is a project, then what is a project management? So project management involves the use of specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to deliver something valuable to people. The project manager is the person that has all these specific knowledge, skills, tools, techniques. And for me, he or she acts as a bridge, connecting all these people, all these stakeholders, and delivering the best possible value, especially for the business. And there are 5 important characteristics of a project, some of which can differentiate the product from the project. And these are, let's start. So the first one is change that is introduced through projects. But the change is introduced by products as well. Isn't the outcome a change? Well, I think it is. Then we have the second thing, which is projects are temporary. And yeah, I definitely agree that projects are temporary in nature and have a defined start and defined end. But at the end, at some point, products also have their end. Like, for example, if we think about videotapes, yeah, the product is no longer valid. There is a need behind it that remains. But I think that's the same for projects, yeah? There is a business need, business impact that we want to make, and we deliver it through the project. But sometimes this project will, at some point, the new change or the new need will arise, or the need will not be satisfied by this project, and we look for another solution. But we get there, I think. There is the third thing, which is projects are cross-functional. Projects involve a team of people with different skills and works across the usual function divisions within the organization, or sometimes across different organizations. And wow, I think there is another similarity with the world of product. Don't you think so? The next thing is projects are unique. Each project will be different from others in a certain ways. So this can include having different team, customers, supplier, product location, or time frame. But aren't products unique as well? I mean, maybe we have the same customers, although that can also change if we're talking about different segmentations, different niche, different user needs that are appearing with the team. Well, where I'm thinking about my product management world, it's not only about working with one product team, it's also about having a lot of dependencies around the other teams. And I know that in like perfect world, there is no dependencies. Like the product team should be independent, zero dependencies. But like even thinking about yourself in life, like we have dependencies on other people. We cannot like argue with that. We are not living on an island, and neither the products. Yeah, so sometimes we just need help from another team, another product team, or another, I don't know, marketing, trading, whatever team we just need. And sometimes we just need help from other people. And we are unique, of course. But yeah, at the end, we are surrounded by people. So projects are unique. Products are also unique. I mean, it has to be like each product has to be unique, because if not, then how we are going to even like sell that to the customers if there will be like thousands of the same products and having no uniqueness around, specific features that we can like deliver to satisfy users' needs. Okay, that's covered. So let's move to the last part, which is the most interesting, I think. And the last characteristic is uncertainty. So all these characteristics listed before may introduce like some uncertainty and make projects more risky compared to the BAU, so business as usual aspects of our organization or our team. However, isn't building a product also introducing a similar level of uncertainty? Aren't we all facing the same fears and doubts when it comes to taking on new projects or developing new products? And there's more. We often like really tend to focus on the differences between projects and products, but how do they connect? Yeah. As a person who works both in project and product management world, I can say that we all need to understand our why we are doing something, why we are working on a project or product, what is the intention behind it. This is the first thing. And it leads to like a mission and vision. But whether it's a project or a product, we are having the same need, which is understanding our why. The second thing that connects projects and product managers is we all want to understand who are we doing it for? Our users, our stakeholders. We are all engaged in different groups and areas, such as marketing, design, business, and stakeholders. And we all like to know, like to understand who are we doing it for? And the third thing, there is like another thing that connects us as a project and product professionals, which is techniques and tools. And we can learn from each other how to manage change, how to manage risk, how to experiment. And most importantly, we can learn how to dive into wants and needs of our users, or if we prefer, stakeholders. The fourth similarity is we are working towards the same goal, even if we don't think it's that. Because at the end, we want to bring value and change to the organization, to the company, to the world, and to make a positive impact. Who doesn't want that? So yeah, this is the fourth thing that actually connects us. And the last one is that we all need to learn from our mistakes. And first, we need to allow to make mistakes to ourselves, whether it's through experiments or gaining insights from them, or through like lessons learned at the end of the project or at achieving the milestone. We should allow ourselves to make mistakes and grow from them. Because learning from mistakes is not easy. It's super painful, but it's essential part of of professional and even like personal development, I've made many mistakes, and sometimes I feel like, I could like do it that easy way, or just, just not make that mistake, just learn from someone else's mistakes. But at the end, I'm not sure if it's possible. I mean, that would be the true wisdom of not making mistakes and just learning from others' mistakes. But would it be living at all? So to sum up, I believe we have much more in common that we may want to admit. And sometimes maybe it's just more valuable to talk to each other more often, to learn from each other, rather than being, in two opposite words, and sometimes even like fighting between project and product, or choosing one direction or another. Maybe we can connect it somehow. If I want to like make a conclusion, so there are indeed like some differences, but I don't believe we should focus on them, because ultimately what should matter to us as professionals is not the differences, but the intention, our why we are doing something, and the work that needs to be done to make our why and what reality, to make that change reality. That should be our focus, rather than getting caught up in the name of the role, the function, or kind of the identity that we attach to ourselves. I mean, that's what truly matters at the end. It's the work that needs to be accomplished, and that's where our attention should be. Because if I think about this podcast, if I would focus on being just a product manager, I'm not sure if I would even like delve into that. I'm not sure if I would even start creating a content, or like thinking how the hell I'm going to make the new episode about what, preparing questions. It's not a product manager role, isn't it? If I would like stick to the rules of the product world. But I'm not. I'm trying to be diverse, I think. I'm trying to be open. I'm trying to take ownership and responsibility and to make an impact. And I think, once again, if we don't have a proper understanding of what we should focus on or want to focus on, it really doesn't allow us to take responsibility or take ownership. And in consequence, it also reduces the impact that we want to make on the world. So, to end this episode, I have a couple of questions for you today. The first one is, what is your main intention? The second one, what is the most important task or work you should be focusing on to make that intention reality? And the third question is, to what extent does your role and function or title stops you from doing that? Thank you for listening to the first episode of Doing It My Way by Beata Matras. And stay tuned for upcoming episodes. And until next time, remember, keep doing it your way.